Hey guys, welcome back to another Architecture Real Talk. Today's topic is going to be all about portfolios. So, portfolio is a document that you supplement with a resume, and it pretty much allows you to seek employment in a creative field. Now, it's not limited to just architecture. You can have graphic designer, interior designers, construction, masons, anyone who pretty much wants to showcase their work alongside a resume document might actually want to do this practice of creating a portfolio. Now, there's multiple types of portfolio. The question comes to me from a high school student who is going to be pursuing an undergraduate in architecture. Now, she's asking me about a creative portfolio. A creative portfolio is an embodiment of that individual's creativity. So if you have previous interior design background or architecture background, obviously that's going to supersede anything else you can put in that portfolio, but you're not limited to just that. If you can put in any documents that show you have art background, if you have done ceramics, photography, if you worked on upholstery, if you worked on cars before, all of those things are embodiment of your creativity. Now, the way the university is going to use this portfolio is going to showcase what that person is capable of. If you end up having two students of equal merit, guess what? We can distinguish those two students based on their creative capabilities. So a student is more likely to be accepted if it has a high level of merit. And if those merits equal another students that have the same level of merit, guess what? The creativity criteria will end up putting you over the edge because you have a nicer portfolio. Now, a second type of portfolio that you'll do while you're in your undergrad is a portfolio that is typically used as a way to transition to upper classes. It might become a prerequisite, or it might become a ceiling where you have a rites of passage to your upper classes just by submitting a portfolio. This type of a portfolio is a chronological progression of you throughout your undergrad. You're going to showcase work in chronological order, saying that this is what my first year looked like, this is where I was drawing at, this is where I'm drawing at now. This is what my craft looks like, my craft now. My ability to improve renderings, drawings, technicalities have drastically made me a good candidate for this program. So this type of a portfolio doesn't really have a size limit. So I would say submit whatever you can, right? You want to really showcase your architectural talents here, go out of your way with layouts, and you can get away with that. Now, the last type of portfolio is what I'm going to spend most of my time with, is an undergraduate portfolio. This type of a portfolio will be sent out with your resume. This type of portfolio is what you're using to seek employment with your first-time employer. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you is to limit your project selection. And this is tip number one. Limit your project selection down to 3 to 4 projects. You do not want to put chronological portfolio all the way through. This is what I'm at now. This is just too large of a document. You want an embodiment of about 3 to 4 projects that showcases differentiation of skill set. You want to have things that can actually be pretty much hand-drawn, rendered, that's nice, right? And you have a tectonic project here, and then you have a more realistic project here. Now you're showing what you're capable of in different genres. So that's the type of portfolio you want to create. Select 3-4 projects and differentiation of skills. Now, the next tip I can give you is your layout is very important. It's particularly your style. If you want to go with this graphic anime style portfolio, by all means, you could set it up like a comic book, and it is a beautiful style to explore. Or you can go with a more traditional, hey, we're going to have a table of content. I'm going to give my concept statement with a beautiful photograph and then transition into my drawings, going into from site plan all the way to a more detailed drawing, and then moving on to the next project. Control your blank pages. See it more like a booklet, and this is what will make your layout stand out. Now, this is the third tip that I can give you, and this is like particularly my pet peeve. This sets your portfolio over the edge when, especially at interviews, is you gotta have a story. You gotta have a narrative that goes along with any of your projects. What that means is, hey, you gotta have a funny story, or you might have a story that employer might remember once you leave his office. You might say, hey, this is how I arrived at the site, and I always found this tree fascinating. I always saw birds around it, and I preserved it on this project. It's just an idea that you can actually exploit, but at the same time, that tree leaves a landmark in that employer's mind. Hey, what was that guy that had tree in his project? Guess what? You're remembered. There's a technique that I use that people pretty much remember story rather than projects. So become a great storyteller. Then lastly, what I want to say is you want to compress your document to about 15 megabytes. Why would I say 15 megabytes? Because you will want another 5 or 10 megabytes for your resume or cover letter. Again, this is because you're looking at it in terms of logistic. You have about 25 megabits to work with on any email account. So if you are sending out projects or you're sending out resumes and portfolios very, very quickly throughout all these multiple firms that you're applying for, 25 megabits is your size. Now, there are certain type of firms that will ask you to send in about 5 or 10 megabytes, and that can be done. But again, if you have limited your project and you only have about 30 or 25 sheets in your portfolio, guess what? It is far easier to compress those. And in order to compress those, I would specifically focus somewhere around 72 to about 150 DPI. There's no reason for extreme high resolution of 300, 500 DPI. Guess what? All of that will get lost in the print anyways. So a lot of your prints are going to be around 150 DPI. Print out one portfolio anytime you go to an employer so you have something handy that you can flip through as you tell your stories. And long story short, that's how you will use your portfolio to get employment. Follow for more content.